Hi, my name is Jesse of Trash Panda, and if you didn't already know, we are making a brand new mid-range, and we're bringing you along for the entire thing. So far, we have a working prototype, which we are incredibly excited about, but that's the easy part, and today begins the hard part, because we have inserts for the mold, and today, we need to build a disc golf mold. Okay, so a lot has happened since we last caught up, so let me get you up to speed. As you saw in part one, we have a working prototype that was made by Protoflight. So maybe the funnest fact of all in this is that Protoflight not only has the ability to make prototypes, but they can actually cut metal. To be clear, cutting metal is just one thing. Being able to actually build a mold is an entirely other, insanely complex process where you typically work with mold makers. But Protoflight has actually built a couple molds already. Not only did they build the mold for their blanks, the first piece that then they carve out of, but they also built a mold for Gateway for a little disc that you might have heard of called the Extraterrestrial. Yep. Full circle. So what we decided to do was, rather than build the whole mold base and everything, was to build just the inserts to fit up inside of the inner core mold. So hypothetically, we could take the inner core inserts out and put the new mid-range prototype inserts in. The only problem is that we didn't initially design the inner core mold to be built that way. So we kind of have to see if that even works. More on that later. But basically, once we were happy with this prototype, Protoflight started making the mold.
They were kind enough to send over some footage of the mold making process, and although we're not going to dive into that in this video, it definitely makes me want to make a future video about making the actual mold itself. But for now,
all right, it's a somewhat noisy day in the warehouse, but I can't wait because something just came in and I want to unbox it ASAP. So for those who don't know about Protoflight and the way they make their discs, basically they CNC out the disc. And the only con I could see immediately at the top when I saw that was waste. Like, that creates a lot of waste. But that's why I initially reached out to them, because I was like, hey, who's recycling that? I want to make sure that doesn't end up in a landfill. We'd love to take care of it. And it turns out, not only were they interested in partnering on a solution for that, but it works out to be great packing paper as well. Literally, the mold piece is somewhere in here, like a needle in a haystack. I genuinely don't think I've met anyone who enjoys trash as much as I do. All right, so quick overview. First, you have the core. This is the bottom center of the disc, and even though it's aluminum, still quite heavy. Then you've got this stripper plate, which actually goes around the outside of the core and makes like the outer bottom edge of the rim. And then we have the cavity. This one's the simplest, it's the top of the disc. So it is a handful of days later, but it is go time. Here is the order of operations. The mold inserts are all ready for me to put in the finishing touches. Basically, I just need to close off all of the water lines with all of these little plugs. I guess it's worth noting, if you didn't already know, all of our molds and almost everyone's molds have water channels in them to cool them down while they're running, because if you don't, the mold just gets hotter and hotter and hotter while running 500-degree plastic through it and becomes almost impossible to run. So water channels are a necessity. And then once I've done that, we also need to hook up the actual fittings. But this is where it gets tricky. Basically, the inner core mold is right here, ready to go. And I need to take it apart to be able to get those inserts in. But also, all of the water fittings are right here. And if the order of operations that I have in my head is correct, I need to take it apart, take out some of those water fittings, take out the inserts, put in those inserts, and then put in the water fittings. Honestly, it's way more complicated than it should be, but that's because we built this as a single mold with no intent on swapping out inserts or anything like that. And honestly, it's just one of the lessons learned the hard way, because eventually we will need to make a mold base that can accept all kinds of inserts, but I didn't know that early on. And basically all I knew is you make a mold, so we made a mold. And while it's a little bit of a pain, I genuinely love sharing that, because I hope anyone who comes after me will use these videos as a resource. So plug the water lines, take apart the mold, replace the inserts, and then put on the water fittings. I think that's kind of everything. And then we just hope that the water doesn't leak, because that would kind of ruin all of this. So Chris was kind enough to make me this diagram to know exactly what I need to do here and where, which is super nice. And I just had a question for him, so I called him, and he said something that I just had to share with you. He was like, Jesse, the chances of us getting this right on the first try are slim to none. Sick. Okay, so while putting these together, I was just thinking about how fascinating water lines are. And I just want to show you because I never really thought about it till we started building molds at Trash Panda. And when you hear water lines, it's so crazy, but it's actually insanely simple. So basically, when you think about it, you basically just need a line that comes in here, goes down, and comes back out. That's it. However, to my knowledge, there's not a drill bit that does that full motion. So what you have to do is you drill in here, and then you drill down on this side. And basically what happens is you make this line, you then make this line, and finally this line. So it's close, but there's one problem. Basically, you want these sides to be open so the water can actually get in, but you have an open hole here, and you need to make sure that's plugged up, which is exactly what we were just doing. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the only one, but I think that is so fascinating. So technically, I can put these ones on already because the way the mold opens up, it's pretty funky, but it opens and those don't go through this like outer wall. But when it comes to all of these, which are the cavity and the stripper plate, I have to wait until I take the mold apart, take those ones out, and then put the inserts in to add the water fittings, which is kind of annoying, but it's where we're at right now. But I was just putting these ones on, and while putting them on, I was thinking I should probably put all of them on, run water through each of them, and see if there are any leaks. Because if there are, I can actually see all of the fittings, see where the leak is, fix it, and then fit it all up. So we should start there. This is actually the thing I've been most nervous about, the water test. I don't know why, I don't have a good reason, but it's coming earlier than I expected. Just gotta send it. All right, all the water lines are ready to go for the test, but Kyle's making this right now. So I'm gonna take apart the inner core mold and prep that, and then I'll test the water lines once he's done. I don't really understand this because I don't know how to get these out of here. So I'm gonna be really interested to see how this all works once we get it apart, which is why I kind of want to do it right now anyway. I might be anticipating a non-issue, but I'm a little concerned. All right, I've been avoiding it, but the time is here. Water test. First up, stripper plate. Should be super simple. And we've got some water hoses ready to go. We'll turn them on as soon as we've got it plugged in. You think I did it right?
It looks like you did.
I am very, very, very glad I tested everything before we put it all in. If you don't already know, we're using brass and the inserts are made out of aluminum. So they're both soft metals and I don't want to over torque anything, especially these ones as we're going to put them in and then take them out. Actually not on this one, but on this one, we got to put them in and take them out. So all of that to say, I went pretty soft on those. We've got a few small leaks, which is no big deal, but that's small leaks. We have one major leak, and that is pretty much all of these leaked, which, whatever. Again, trying to play it safe. I will just go ahead and crank on those a little harder and see if we can't solve that, and we should be okay. So I guess everything we just did one more time.
2,000 years later.
So this is taking way longer than I expected, and I've gotten rid of all the leaks, but I'm having a weird problem. On the cavity piece, when I release these guys, it's fine. There's like water flows out of there, but when I release these, it's just pressure. You can see from this clip here, like it just releases pressure, which makes me feel like maybe water's not flowing through. So I want to try to plug in here, turn it on, not plug in here, and just see if water comes out. So hypothetically, water should come out of here. There's a bucket down here. Go really slow. Uh-oh. Okay. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Doesn't seem like water even came in here. This is the other channel. Water should come out of here. I really hate doing this. So I hate leaving on a total ellipses, but we have a pretty major issue right now, and it's a mess in here, and I have to go for the day. So basically, here's where we're at. Something is going on in this channel. So this channel runs in here, over and back, plugs up right here. Something is going on in here, and I don't know what. So it could be that I screwed this in too far and it's blocked, but that looks like it's at the edge, so that can't be. It's also possible that the channel just wasn't made correctly. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, for me, I have to wait and sit on this and be anxious about it. For you, it'll be like that. That would be a sick transition if I remember.
All right, it is the weekend. I've had a few days to kind of stew on what's going on, and I really want to figure this out because I hate having inserts and mold pieces just out and about in a way that they could get damaged. So I need to put these away, but I got to figure out what we're gonna do here. Problem number one is one of these water channels seems to not be working, so I got to check that. And problem number two is a little bit of an assumption that we made that I earlier said was maybe not a big deal and might be a massive deal. And it comes to taking apart the inner core mold, but one problem at a time. I'm 99% sure it's this side, and I want to show you a little diagram to show you what we got to figure out. So basically, this is what that cavity looks like. And as you can see, inside there are drilled out water lines. As I mentioned earlier, for example, like on this bottom rung, you can see that it goes in, and then additionally it comes in on this side, which is where we had to cap it. So if you're looking super close, I'm basically just worried that those lines might not be meeting up. So I think I need to take that cap out, the water lines off, and then find something long and skinny. This should be long enough to do this trick. Okay, it's definitely long enough, but I have to take these off. So basically what I need to do is I need to poke this in one of the holes, and then I need to look through the other to see if it's lining up. So I think I just go all the way. Boom. That's so sick. All right, that's test number one. Test number two. This is the one I'm nervous for. No way. Wait, can you see it? Hold up. Because this should be... This is for sure. What?
No way. So is there another problem? Okay, I was confident that was gonna be not connected, but it is. So what the heck is going on? All right, it's back together so we can test it. And the second I got it back together, I realized something. If you've been watching thinking, Jesse, aren't you taking off the wrong side? Yes, I took these ones off, tested. I meant to take these ones off. So that's fun. All right, let's try that one more time. Okay. Whoa. So I thought it was gonna be the second one, but it's actually the first one. I actually don't know what that means. Okay, I've thought about this for a second. First off, we can definitely still prototype, which is good, because it doesn't have to necessarily be cool. We can run, you know, a handful of discs and still be able to prototype. Plus, if there's one piece for this to happen on, it's definitely this one, because we could just run it with one line rather than two, and it's still at least partially cooled, whereas like this one or even this one only have the one line. Honestly, probably best case scenario. But I think I might be able to solve it too with a long drill bit. I don't know if that's smart, so I need to hold on that. But I think I might be able to just send it as well, which feels wrong. But honestly, none of that matters if I can't solve problem number 2. So problem number 2 has to do with maybe a little bit of an assumption that we made about the inner core mold. Now, I've never fully taken this apart, but if you remember from the mold video, we did take out the entire core assembly, but I haven't taken out the stripper plate pieces or the cavity pieces. And if you remember from earlier, you've got water lines in them, but I can't actually take these pieces out till I take out the water lines. And if you look at them, I mean, I could probably get a socket in there. Oh, that's pretty tight. But like, look at the stripper plate. Look at that piece right there. How the heck am I gonna get that out? What I'm realizing is that I think we were just operating on this assumption that we'd be able to take the inner core mold apart. And now, I'm not even sure we're gonna be able to take it apart. So we've got this guy, and on one that's not too far out, it feels pretty good. Like I'm confident I could take that one off. But on this one, I can't even tell if it's actually grabbing or if it has enough to grab onto. I mean, it has to, because they put it in there, so it has to be able to. So I'm honestly not really sure what to do right now with all of this. I think I can get the water lines out, but I also have a problem on the inserts that I gotta solve. And what if when I'm trying to get the water lines out, I break something? Like, this is how we make the inner core. There's no way for us to make the inner core if that's broken. Like, that would be an incredibly costly mistake. Plus, the inner core's birthday is like right around the corner, and we wanted to do a special run for that. I kind of just assumed I was gonna swap these inserts, prototype the new mid, swap them back, we'd make some special run inner core, and then move on. But, oh, that doesn't feel smart. And I typically make mistakes when I'm trying to rush things. And the only reason to rush this is because I wanna actually make this mid and start to get it into people's hands. So the smart thing, I mean, it's almost too obvious. If you're watching this, it's probably way too obvious. The smart thing is to put this back together, to run the special run inner core, and actually just produce like way more than we need, so that then I can take it apart in case something goes wrong, like we're in the clear, put in the other inserts and actually fix them in the meantime, and then test out the mid. But I don't want to do that. Nope, that's the right decision. We've got to do that. And we promised we were going to bring you along for the whole thing, whether smooth sailing or bumpy. But bumpy has never stopped us before, so we'll see you on the next one.